This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm joined by Dave Coldwell over Zoom. Dave, firstly, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. Yeah, really good. Been a good week, great weekend, and followed by a good week. So, all good, mate.
Glad to hear it. Now, obviously, let's just go back to the weekend. I asked you if you'd speak on the back of Leigh's victory against Michael Conlan, but obviously with everything at the time which was going on with Mick, you said you wanted to wait until you knew for sure that he was okay. Obviously, since then we found out that he is, which is great to hear. So we can now just reflect on what was an unbelievable fight between the pair of them, which resulted in what was a stunning last-minute stoppage victory for Leigh Wood.
Yeah, it was unreal, weren't it? Just an amazing fight. I thought both fighters obviously gave it absolutely everything. I thought Michael Conlan was brilliant. He put on a great boxing performance. Obviously, we've seen his quality as an amateur. We've seen his quality as a pro, but it was always in fights really where he's expected to win. And it's about how well he looked and his development for his coach and Adam Booth and himself to see how he was developing along on the way to the big fights. Gets his opportunity, in a real 50-50 fight, and I thought he put on a really, really good performance. But there are some nights where you look at a fighter's performance and you look at him and you think no matter who was there that night, there was no backing down in Leigh Wood. He gave it absolutely everything, and he was quite open about it afterwards, saying, obviously, we're all looking at the knockdown in the first round, but the fact that he got hurt numerous times to the body, and just kept firing back, gritting his teeth and firing back, and all the work prior, all the accumulation of the body shots prior, and the heavy hands of Leigh all sort of paid off in that last round, in that last two rounds where he started pouring on more, and obviously an unbelievable knockout at the end.
Just reflect on the beginning of the fight for me, Dave. What went through your mind when you saw Leigh dropped in that first round? And we saw a few people after. Eddie said I think Ben may have admitted it as well, that for maybe a few rounds after that, Leigh was just needing to try and get his feet back beneath him, his legs back, because he was kind of a struggle for him. Did you see that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, what went through my mind when Leigh went down was, oh shit! It feels like it was the last shot of the round. And I thought he boxed really well in that first round as well. And it just, this booming left hand came over the top, and because his back was to me. So you just see him fall back. It was like, wow. And it was a heavy knockdown. And then obviously as he gets up and he's going back to corner, you're looking at his legs and you're trying to see how he's reacted, how badly hurt is it. But then, in the ensuing couple of rounds, you could see that it was unsteady on his legs. And he took some big shots, looked a little bit wobbly a couple of times, but it was just pure grit, pure grit. And do you know what? This is where a lot of the times fighters can get knocked and people downplay the potentials when earlier in the career they have hard fights, they get hurt, maybe they get stopped, they get dropped, and they show vulnerabilities, and then people think, oh, that's when he gets, when he goes up to another level, that's it, he'll get found out. But actually, those kind of things, like the Gav McDonald fight, like the Jazza Dickens fight, where he was in a real hard fight and in trouble in certain moments in that fight, and then even Reese Mould caught him with a shot and it looked a little bit, these sort of experiences, I think, helped Leigh in that fight. In that moment, he gets dropped, especially. The first round, your home crowd, your home show, packed out, unbelievable atmosphere. This is your moment. And in the first round, you find yourself looking up at the ring lights. It's all those experiences, I think, helped him, especially ensuing rounds, those rounds that he had to really bite down and get through. Because obviously you get knocked down, but it's when you still stood up and you're getting hurt, how do you get through those moments? And experience plays a vital role. So, I think that worked in his favour massively.
Dave, at what point from where you was watching did you start to think that Leigh was starting to kind of swing the momentum in his favour?
I mean, I said before the fight, I did feel as though Conlan could hurt him to the body. But I also felt that the weight of Leigh's punches, it wasn't just a case of, oh, it's one shot and that's it. I just felt that as Conlan's career's been, he always looks as though in the final quarter, he does look a little bit more tired. He starts to get hit a little bit more. And I felt that he's not fought somebody that hits as hard as Leigh, and maybe the extra weight of Leigh's punches in the build-up to those moments would have more of an effect on Conlan, and so he would be more stationary for a lot more than what it would usually be, and it kind of like seemed to go that way, but still Conlan kept firing back and was digging downstairs, and it was even the rounds where Leigh started looking like he was coming back in it, Conlan was still putting his shots together, and then he hurt Leigh to the body, and it was just a really good fight. But it was a fight where if you were in Conlan's corner, or a Conlan fan, after 10 rounds, you're thinking your man's won this and he's gonna win this, and all he's got to do is kind of like navigate the next 2 rounds. And then obviously in round 11, Leigh catches Michael with a shot. And it was again another brutal round, another fantastic round. But then Leigh catches him with a shot. I think, listen, the punch put him over, but watching it live, I didn't think it was a knockdown. Where I was, I thought it was a slip. But then when I looked up and I saw the monitors, then it's kind of like, oh, well, it was half a slip, but as he's slipping, he gets hit with a shot. So it is a knockdown. And that just kind of changed the momentum. It's, you're going into the last 2 rounds and you're hoping to land your power shots, and you've been hoping for the prior rounds as well. But you just have that little glimmer of hope and that extra boost that when you see your man go down, whether it's a shot that hits him on the glove, puts him over, whether it's a legitimate knockdown or whether it's a slip, when you see that opponent go down on the floor, it gives you an extra boost. And I think that's what it did for Leigh. And it may be a sense of not panic or a not meaning it in that way, but maybe in Conlan's mind, it's like fuming, a bit of embarrassment, because it wasn't hurt, so maybe a bit of embarrassment had gone down, and then also maybe the fact of that happening so late in the fight again plays in his mind, and he wants to fight back a little bit more, instead of just maybe holding and just running around the ring to get that 12th round out of the way and done, which we've seen many fighters do that before, where they feel as though they're winning a fight, and they just get on the bike for the final round. But don't get me wrong, he was tired, and Leigh had dragged him into that place where he didn't necessarily want to be, or his coach didn't want him to be at all. Leigh dragged him into that place just by persistence and just by keep dogging him and keep turning it into a fight.
I mean, Dave, this is all kind of a hypothetical question now, which you've half answered there with regards to the 11th round. But when you look back at it and you consider the knockdown, do you believe if that didn't happen heading into the 12th, Leigh would have still been able to stop him, or we would have seen a different approach from Mick? Because by Mick's own admission, he had Russ Amber telling him that
and there's 10
to go and win the round in the final round.
That's that. So I'll be honest with you. I didn't know that because I was sat there. But then the next day, I watched the fight back, and at the end of the 10th round, we've been talking about this in the gym actually. At the end of the 10th round, Russ is shouting at him, "We need these 2 rounds. You got to win these 2 rounds." And I thought, oh, really? So for me, it was kind of like and it's only my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right and he's wrong, but that could send a message to the fighter who's thinking he's winning and who's thinking everything's under control, to all of a sudden just think, fuck, am I going to lose this? and make you fight harder than you need to. I'm not saying he should have gone on his bike for 2 rounds, maybe the 12th round, but for 2 rounds, but maybe just box for round 11 and box and look to nick the round and, you know, just get through it, but look to win the round, but smart and just box. But again, fatigue and Leigh constantly pressing, you just, you know, you don't know. Like you say, it's hypothetical, but I was surprised watching it back that there was that sense of urgency there, because I didn't think there was any sense of urgency from Adam. So yeah, that kind of surprised me. And like I said, but you know, in the heat of battle and the mentality of fighters, things like that can have an effect.
Dave, in that final round, how did you actually have it scored before the knockout? Because obviously we saw it was one judge had it 3-up to Mick, and then the other 2 had Mick up by 1, which would have meant even if Leigh had won the final round 10-9, he would have been a majority draw, so he would have kept his title.
No, I had Michael winning it. I thought Leigh needed a knockout. So yeah. I thought, you know, despite it was a close fight, it was a hard fought fight, but I definitely all the way through felt it was Leigh needed to turn the tide. Leigh needed to, turn it around, and especially going into the last round, with the 10-8 in round 11, I still thought Leigh needed a knockout, and I think literally everybody around, in the arena thought that as well. So yeah, that's how I saw it.
Aside from obviously the concerns that everybody had for Mick after the knockout, just itself, though, Dave, now you can enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah.
Just reflect on that for me. What was a stunning finish to the fight?
So it was on the night. It's quite difficult, to be honest, for me, because obviously I was over the moon, buzzing. The initial, when he knocks him out, sensational, but then it's the fall. The fall out of the ring was horrible, and it was literally in front of me. But I'm 2 seats away from his mum, from Michael's mum, and I found it difficult because I'd never met her before, and then before the fight, she's come over to speak to me. Literally 20 minutes before the ring walk, half an hour before the ring walk, and she's come over to talk to me and my wife, and she was the most lovely person, and honestly, you could meet. She was really, really nice, and she was talking about the family. She was talking about, she was really, really nice. And even when I got up to go and speak to somebody else, later on she came and she sat again and spoke to my wife about as kids and how Michael and Jamie were, the smallest when they were young and things like that, and how she sees my son as a similar sort of thing. He's always with the big boys and that. So she was lovely. And even though you just meet somebody for the first time, you get a feeling that you really like these people, you like this person, and then that to happen in front of her, it really upset me. And so it has. I'll be honest with you, it has tainted my enjoyment of the knockout. It was brilliant, and I'm over the moon for Leigh, and it was a sensational knockout, and I'm absolutely buzzing for that ending because now he's fine, everything's good. But as a parent, to think about seeing that happen to your son, it was just a way, because genuinely he falls out, and thank God Jamie's reaction, his brother's reaction was so good, because he does actually break the fall a little bit, but his head literally goes first onto the floor, and it's just over. It could have been so much worse, but that's what I'm saying, is his mum's seeing that, and it's not nice. So I don't, it's something that it's brilliant from my point of view and everything. It's great, but I can't enjoy it as much because that is my memory of it. My memory of it is being horrified that his mum's right in front of it. I know his dad was as well, and his brother was as well. And I don't mean to make it sound as though it's any less for him, but they're boxing people as in his dad's coached him and his dad's a coach and James a fighter and things like that. Bless him, mum, do you know what I mean? And I'll never forget his mum being sat there when this was all going up, the paramedics and everything. It was horrible. It really was awful. So that's still now, that's spoiled my enjoyment of the actual ending of the fight. The shot, he stood fall out of the ring. And I do think now, it's great in hindsight, but I do think that something now it is something we need to look at now, because that is a huge fall. It was a huge fall. And so I do think that we need to have a wider ring. The ropes are here, and more of a ring floor space to go beyond, so it doesn't happen. You can go up. I think in Germany, in a lot of shows in Germany, the ring actually does go beyond by quite some distance. I've been in places like that. I think even in New York, I've been in a ring that's like that. But I think we need to look at something like that or have cushions, not cushions like as in what you have in your sofa, but some sort of cushion padding that breaks the fall, so it's not as big a drop. But yeah, because that could have been so much worse if his brother hadn't have broken the fall and hadn't literally caught him. That could have been so much worse, because I mean, I'll never put it out, but I was filming at the time. I was just clipping because the atmosphere and the footage that I've got, and then it literally cuts, and the way it cuts is in a straight line upside down, and his head's that far off the floor. So that's how dangerous that could have been. So that's something that I do think that we need to look at now going forward, because we got away with it on this one. Thank God everything's all right, but we got away with this one. That could have been a snap neck. That could have been, regardless, he's recovered, he's all right. It's just a knockout. It's a normal knockout, but it's the fall that could have made that so much worse, because he was actually talking on the floor. So it was a normal knockout, but it was made worse by the fall out of the ring. So that fall out of the ring, if it hadn't been for Jamie's reaction, if he hadn't have broken the fall, that could have resulted in a snap neck, a broken back, something like that. And that's not something that we can just, in my opinion, from how close I were and what I've seen, and that's not something that we can just brush under the carpet and say it's part of sport. A knockout is part of sport. That's all. This is something that we can prevent by extending the ring apron or having some sort of cushioning out, around the outskirts of the ring. And that is something that I would hope that the board or promoters look at and say, do you know what? That could have been so much worse. Let's not take that risk again.
I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one who feels like that. I saw Tony's comments as well on Twitter that he feels that something needs to be done in terms of some extra padding or something on the outside of the ring. But thankfully, as you say, on this occasion, Mick was okay, and he's out now, and he's kind of enjoying some downtime, I assume. But in terms of what's next for Leigh, obviously everybody looks at what could be with the Warrington-Martinez rematch. Do you think it's most likely that he pursues the winner of Warrington-Martinez, or if the clamour will be there for a potential Mick Conlan rematch if it can happen at the City Ground? And I'm sure that would do just as big a number because of the following that Mick has as well.
I think a rematch would do more. It would do. It's kind of like I'm not saying to this extent, but do you remember when Froch Groves won? Did 20? Oh, will it sell out? Will it sell it? And it did, but then the rematch was nuts, because it was such a good fight, and obviously had a controversial ending. But this didn't have a controversial ending, but it was such drama. The ending was dramatic. The fight was amazing, absolutely outstanding. So, and also because of how it was, it's kind of gone viral as well. So it's a fight that even people didn't watch live at the time all know about, talking about. And so it's a fight that, as a rematch, it would be absolutely huge, and it'd definitely sell out Forest Ground, City Ground, definitely sell out that. But you've got to look at what does Leigh want, because he's had an hard career, he's done it the hard way, and now it's about what he wants. We know he wants the City Ground, but a fight against Kiko Martinez, that'd do. Josh Warrington, that'd do. And he gets the opportunity to unify. If the WBA sort this bullshit out with the belt, because I believe that you can't unify a regular. So and he's not, Santa Cruz hasn't fought in that division for God knows how long. He isn't world champion. He shouldn't have any claims to that belt. He's fought a different way. So he's fought but not defended the belt. It should be where there's only one WBA world champion, and that's Leigh Wood. So allow him to go and unify. And again, this is part of the shit side of boxing, where you've got this cloud hanging over, because they're still telling this guy that he's world champion, even though he's not done anything with a belt. So yeah, I mean, the options there for Leigh, they're all great. They're all positive options, whether it's a rematch, whether it's Kiko or Warrington. And then I've even said Jazza, calling for a rematch of his fight. Leigh's got so many good options now, so whatever he chooses now is only going to be great for him. And I just hope that he gets whatever he wants now.
Dave, just away from that one, just get your thoughts on a couple of the things. I saw an interview that yourself and Lerone Richards did together at the press conference last week, and it's the first time I've seen Lerone kind of animated about his future. He's desperate for one of the other leading names in the division to face him and for him to prove himself against the world's best. Just kind of your thoughts on Lerone's reactions in that interview, and where can you stand for him?
The way it was on camera, I was surprised myself. I was like, oh, but that just shows you what it's like. I mean, we spoke this morning. He's pissed off, mate. He's pissed off. He feels as though he's just caught in limbo. He'd not fought for like 7 months before Gongora. He goes in against Gongora, who's a world-ranked opponent, a guy that they're talking about big things for in the States. Top 10 Ring magazine. He goes and puts on a clinic and absolutely outclasses him, and everything's just gone quiet. And he, there's talks for this, talks for that, but he wants things sorting, and he doesn't want to be left waiting again, inactive. While the big one happens, then get him another fight. That's what he wants. He wants to be active, but he wants the big names. He wants the big fights. He'd be happy to go straight into a big fight now. He's got a very, very, very high quality win on his record. So you can't say that he's not ready for the big fights. He obviously is. And I see what he's capable of. I see what he does, and what he sacrifices, and live. He's got a family, but he lives away from his family because he's pursuing a dream. But he wants to be world champion. That's what he wants. He's not chasing the money. He said he's not chasing the money. If it means he can get a world title shot, get me a world title shot. He wants the big fights, and he wants to be world champion. That's what he's in the game for. And he's not talking about just, let's go for the weakest champion. He'll fight anybody. He just wants to be world champion. And he believes in his ability. He believes in his boxing skills, and he is a very, very skillful fighter. He's a world level fighter now. He's top 10 ranked in the Ring magazine. They don't give those out like WBC giving belts around. That is a prestigious thing. So let's get him something big.
Dave, when I last spoke to Lerone, it was probably a couple of months ago, and he was mentioning, well, he's on the back, might have been about a month after the Gongora win, and he mentioned a number of names that are in that division, like i.e. the likes of Caleb Plant. He said he'd have been open to a Ryder Jacobs winner. I know in John's case, he's eager for a world title crack himself.
Yeah.
But would he be open to facing Danny Jacobs? Because even on
Yeah,
the back of that fight, some people still thought Danny had done enough to win
yeah,
against Con.
yeah. Listen, Lerone would do a right job on Danny Jacobs. We said when I was sat with him, we were watching it, and I totally agree with him. He said to me, he says, if that was me in there, I'd stop him. And Lerone's not a puncher, but you got to look at styles make fights. He would take Danny Jacobs to pieces. This version of Danny Jacobs that was there on that fight night and that is there now, 100%. We even said it straight away. We said we'd go over to the Barclays Arena in New York and fight him. It's not a problem, you know. But would Danny Jacobs want that fight? What does he gain out of fighting Lerone Richards? I'll tell you what he gains. Danny Jacobs just got beat to John Ryder. He's nowhere near a world title shot, right? He gains an IBO world title. So he gains that. But what he gains is he gains a ring top 10 magazine ranking, which is worth something and which is seen as something in America, right? So if Danny Jacobs wants to get back into the big fights as quick as he can, go and fight Lerone Richards, because he has things that have got some sort of bargaining chip for you. You can't turn around and say, oh, well, it's not worth. If he beats Danny, is Danny Jacobs in the top 10 Ring Magazine rankings now? No. Does he have a title now? No. Is he going to get a world title shot in his next fight? No. Fight Lerone Richards, you get to fight for your IBO title, which you can say you've got a world title. You get a top 10 ranking, and you're back right there in the mix. So, you know, there are pros for Danny Jacobs to fight Lerone. So we'd be open to that as well.
Final one, Dave, just before I let you go. Anthony Joshua, obviously, wait and see whether or not he has to have an interim bout in the meantime, with regards to obviously everything going on with Alexander Usyk. Of course, obviously, we hope that he's okay out in the Ukraine. But
yeah,
just kind of your thoughts on a potential bout with Joe-Joyce, because that's caused kind of a bit of a stir over social media with everybody's different opinions on it. What would be your take if AJ was to face Joe-Joyce in the interim?
So as a fan, that's a fan-friendly fight. That's exciting. That's a good fight. It's a good domestic clash between two heavyweights. Great. You know, as a fan, I would love to see that. As a fan, I'd love to see Wilder and AJ. I'd love to see Joyce and AJ. They're exciting fights. But is it realistic? If I put a trainer's hat on or a manager's hat on, and if I'm, you know, looking to see what's best for AJ, and AJ's goal is to beat Usyk, I just think that he needs to be fighting a southpaw, which unfortunately for fans, from a fan's head, there's nothing really exciting there. But there are times when you've got to look at what AJ has done in his career. You look at the fights that he's taken against the names, the experience level of the fighters he's gone as he's been learning on the job. He's rolled the dice a few times. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves in who he's for. But look at who he's for, and look at the level of experiences. And let's not forget, you know, people like to point out his limitations, but yet he kept rolling the dice and taking these fights. So if it doesn't please the fans for this one, then, well, if it brings him more of a chance of beating Usyk when he fights Usyk, then really he has to do what's best for him. Well, that's my opinion. If you're looking out for him, surely you've got to look at the end game is to beat Usyk and get your belts back. Well, you need to fight somebody. You're not going to get somebody that stylistically is an Usyk, but at least get a southpaw so you can prepare for things. And also in camp, that allows you. So you've had the camp for the Usyk fight. You go into another camp against the southpaw, so you're sparring nothing but southpaws again. More chance to practice things that you're going to be doing. And then you've got the camp for the Usyk fight when that happens. So he's got 3 back-to-back camps there, all southpaw preparation, all southpaw. And also, obviously, he needs to change the way that he approaches the first fight. So then you've got 2 camps of however way, you know, his training team are looking at for him to box, to drill. So then it gives him more of a chance when he fights Usyk to pull off the win, because, you know, for Anthony Joshua, is his big ambition right now to beat Joe-Joyce? Probably not. Is it to beat Wilder right now? Is that the end game right now? Probably not. Is it to get his belts back and avenge a loss against Usyk? I would guess that that's the end game. So I think it's not fan friendly, but get a southpaw. If you want to please the fans, then yes, please, Joe-Joyce all day long.
Right, Dave, we will leave it there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. I appreciate you doing this interview now, and I'll leave you down to enjoy it. Like I say, thank you for speaking to me on Boxing Social.
Nice one, mate. Cheers.